Welcome to Chasing the Beats, a show dedicated to weeklybeats.com artists, their songs, and stories from the 2024 season. I'm your host, SQF, and today's guest is Paisleyfrog. Welcome to the show, Paisleyfrog.
Greetings. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your weekly beats this past year. For those unfamiliar with your music, I don't think there's a genre that contains you.
It ended up maybe getting a little bit silly by the end, but it was just so fun, sort of chasing different sounds like a squirrel with ADHD. It's just like, ooh, this is bright and shiny. Let's try that this week.
Yeah, well, and you're a master of chasing these different styles and genres, because I feel like I make a lot of the same music. And I would love to be like, oh, I'm making reggae dub this week. I'm making like a car song next week. Like the way you can capture the essence of these different styles and genres is just amazing to me.
Well, and you know, it's something I've actually had to sort of come to terms with myself about, in that I've never been able to stick with a sound. And, to take that back and put it back to you a little bit, I am a little bit envious of artists who can have a sound and stick with it and sort of like work within that style and be consistent. And it's something I've always sort of struggled with, because it makes putting out albums a little bit challenging if you don't want to give your listeners horrendous whiplash.
Like the B-side's just going to be way different, everyone.
Right. So like, okay, on the one side, we got sort of like this industrial dark wave, and the other one, we have sort of like a gentle orchestral folk piece. So that was just something that this year sort of helped me, I don't know, come to terms with a little bit, that, that's how I write. That's who I am. I'm not going to try and divide out into different artists' names or anything like that. That's just, it's what I do. And it was actually, and the support of the community and having everyone really enjoy that really, really helped show me that, oh, I guess this isn't a bad thing. This is something that people enjoy.
I think that's one cool thing about Weekly Beats is like everyone's just doing their own thing, and no one's like, hey, I thought you made folk music. Like, what's this 9 Inch Nails tune?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's something you see across the boards, more or less, is that people will say, well, I'm going to try this week. And everyone's like, oh yeah, that's cool. That was unexpected. I like this part. And just the support that everyone shows. Everyone is pulling in the same direction on Weekly Beats, because we're all doing this crazy thing.
Yeah, we're all just trying to get stuff out that we kind of
making sure that we don't say, hey, I finished something this week and I don't hate it. Excellent. Next week.
Next week, if I listen to it, I might hate it, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was sort of like talking about when you're saying I had to pick songs. It's like it's like picking a favorite child, even though if some of your children you're a little disappointed in. I think
that's a really good way of putting it.
I think the metaphor breaks down there a little bit, but
so is this your first Weekly Beats?
This is my first Weekly Beats, but I've done weekly projects before.
Okay.
And that's what that was back in 2008. And it's like I'd sort of gotten lost in the weeds in some songwriting projects I was doing, and getting how when you work on a mix and suddenly it's a year later and you haven't written a song, and just like you get lost chasing perfection, which you never catch. Mm-hmm. And so I got this feel of, am I a songwriter or not? So I decided, okay, I'm gonna write a song a week. And at that point, I unfortunately put some unhelpful rules on myself. And so like, okay, it's so like, it needs to be this kind of song. And it's like, actually, oddly enough, at that point, I was like, no electronic music and no blues or no anything like this. And unsurprisingly, I stopped at week 29 after I had, broken rules as I had gone along. But, things happened in life at that point. And I just sort of stopped, and I couldn't figure out how to fit creativity into my life as I was approaching it at that point.
Yes.
And so I tried a few other weekly projects with less degrees of success.
And these were weekly projects,
Just me. Yeah, just
yeah,
things
so
I do.
no community
No community,
aspect.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so this year, I'm like, "Okay, so things are calming down maybe a little." So, I'm like, "I'm gonna write 24 songs this year, and I'm just gonna post them online because that's something." Like, when I did the first one, I set up my own blog, and I posted about it
Yeah.
there because you gotta tell people about it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
if you keep it a secret, it's easier to, just quit. And so I posted my first song on January 1st of 24, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, if you're doing this thing, you should check out Weekly Beats." It's like, it's weekly, but, you don't have to. Well, once you're into it,
Yeah, you
yeah,
got to.
you gotta. And that's actually, Murder Cat who told me about
Oh,
it.
sweet, sweet.
Yeah, yeah, because I've known Murder Cat for a long time, actually.
Okay.
And so he told me about that, and that's where I jumped into Weekly Beats. And I thought it was just gonna be, a good place to put my music because I was posting on Facebook, and Facebook is awful, but
Yes.
just having a place to put music and with a schedule and just regularly put it. What I was not expecting was the amazing community, and
Yeah.
that's what made the year into something way more than what I was expecting. Just an incredible number of caring and talented and just friendly people, all trying to do this crazy thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's really what kept me going because, this was my first weekly challenge of any
Mhm.
sort of, creativity thing of, how do I make something every week and not get burnt out making
Right.
something every week, like, just figuring that out, but having a community where you're like, "Well, I gotta keep the streak alive, and
Mhm.
I love listening to what everyone else is putting
Yeah.
out. I'm already on here every Sunday night anyway, I might as
Mhm.
well, like, make my song." So,
Yeah.
definitely
And
rode some waves of, like,
yes.
burnout, okay, like, this is fun, like, just keep having fun, and
Mhm.
the music will come.
And that's really what the beginning of the year was. It's like figuring out, okay, how am I approaching this? Because, the beginning of the year, I was posting generally like industrial dark wave sort of stuff. And it was just not coming after a few weeks. And it's like, okay, we are at the beginning of the marathon here. How do you keep that going? And that was where it was, okay, pick up a different instrument, just start thinking differently about, because the way you were thinking wasn't working.
Yeah.
So don't bang your head against it. And then also what became a lot of fun was queuing in on the comments on what people said that they were hearing, things that I wasn't hearing in my own music.
Yeah.
Because I've had that before where I wrote a song and someone told me, it's like, is this song about zombies? I'm like, I didn't write this song about zombies, but I guess it is. You're right. Because that's where the whole genre craziness thing started. I posted a song. What was it? It was week 21, and I wasn't entirely wild about it. I actually used a few session players and just did a guitar lead over the top of it. And One Hit Kill says, "I hear this sort of Latin thing going on there." Like, really? Huh. I should dig into that. I should try that out. And so that's why the next week I tried making a Santana type song, and it being given a focus.
Yeah.
It's the empty page problem. It's
Yeah.
like when everything is a possibility, it's hard to get anything done. But
Yes.
if you can give yourself a line of breadcrumbs or something, or a path or some manner of direction, and so the community gave me that, and it was an amazing thing to be able to say, okay, well, I have this. Well, let's try following that and see where that leads. And that would usually, go a few weeks out, and then I'd get picked up and set in another 90-degree direction. And then there
Yeah.
are other ideas that just popped up that I would have, but it was really a community project that way. And making music can be a very lonely thing at times, where
Yes.
you just in your studio and knowing that other people might be listening to it and you're listening to other people's music, and there's this being a part of something when you're just making music is it's a pretty incredible thing.
Yeah, it's different than just letting bots listen to your music on SoundCloud, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Because I was putting out music the year before just on SoundCloud and, messaging some friends like, "Hey, do you wanna listen to my music?"
yeah,
And, you're not gonna get good feedback or
mhm,
inspiration in that way.
yeah,
And then it's like, "Oh, you know, here's where people are listening to your music all over the world." I'm like,
yeah,
"That's bots. That's
yeah.
bots."
Yeah, and I was part of a songwriters board in, what year was that? 2004, 2005 or so, and it
Okay.
was more of a that was right after I started songwriting, and it was I joined up in no small part as like, am I kidding myself? Do I know what I'm doing here? But there's something about when other songwriters are critiquing you, it's sometimes difficult to get the feel of, is this something that you should think about changing, or is it a critique coming from the standpoint, well, that's not how I would have done it.
Yes, yes.
And so it can be a little bit challenging to grow and improve there. And it's like, I think if you have a handle on the equipment and what you want to create, having people point out what you're doing good is almost as helpful as what you're not doing well. It's like the encouragement of hearing, well, you're doing, I'm enjoying this. I'm liking this.
Yeah.
It gives you, it's that
Do
positive
more of that.
reinforcement. Yeah, yeah, and things you wouldn't necessarily have thought of on your own.
Yeah, because there's moments I had where I posted things saying, "Well, this is not a traditional song format," but people are like, "I like it."
Yeah.
I like that it went to, like, 5 different places,
Hmm.
and I thought that was cool, where a traditional songwriter's critique would be like, "No, no, no, that's terrible. It's gotta follow this."
Yeah, how much of creativity is getting out of our own heads, and our
Well, a lot.
and our own preconceptions about what we think we're supposed to be making, or the ways that there's the traditional idea of what a song is. And
Mhm.
and I think about the music that I've found in the past that has really blown my mind and altered my perception of what music really could be.
Yeah.
That was like when I found industrial in college. Really, it's like, whoa, this is music, and just like it's not the AM top 40 sort of thing. It's just
Yeah.
like completely divergent from your previous experience and opens you up to what can be possible because we're all sort of we like to be open minded about things, but we're limited by our own preconceptions and notions of where we've been,
Yeah,
which
it's like,
is
even when your last challenge, you talked about putting these, like, rules and boxes on what you could do, like, even when you throw all those out, there's still all these rules and boxes in the background that you're just like, "Oh, well, those are there," that we sometimes don't even question.
right. Yeah, the whole idea of, yeah, there's the rules you say to yourself, but then there's the rules that the walls you're not aware that they're present,
Yeah,
and getting through those. Yeah, how do you break down a wall that you don't know is there?
yeah, yeah.
And that's where
So,
other people help with that.
what is your musical background?
Musical background, like most kids, I started on recorder when I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
I started on guitar in sixth grade with absolutely the worst guitar you could imagine. Of what was this guitar? It has the octave point, the 12th fret. It only had 11 frets in that space, so it was literally impossible to keep in tune. And so I just remember my cousin who played guitar. He sat down with my guitar and he's like, "What's
What
what is
is this
going
thing?
what's going on with this thing?" And so that killed me for playing guitar until I bought another one, like 10 years later. And I sort of wonder about, I wonder if I had gotten a proper instrument at that point.
Mhm.
But I was a band kid, and I played a bunch of groups that way. But I never really thought that I could write a song,
Yeah.
because there's the whole idea of, well, if I sit down to write a song, I just write something that I already heard somewhere. How are you creative in that way? And that changed around a little bit when I joined a band, just like a 90s cover band, in early 2000s or so, and learned bass. I actually picked up a bass at a jam session. I was playing harmonica, and no one was playing bass. Like, well, bass is just the bottom four strings of a guitar. I'll try that. So I played bass that night, and based off of that night, someone asked me to join a band.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I think the joke about bass players is a little bit true.
Yeah.
But learning bass really opened me up to how is the song built? What's the relationship to the chords? What is music theory? And that, and being in a space where I got some feels I have to get out at this point, I started, I would sit down with an instrument. I'm like, oh, that's something sort of different. I should record that. I have nothing to record on. So I got a little Tascam 4-track.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what I
that's,
started out with too.
yep. And I don't miss it at all. I filled up a lot of tapes with that thing, but I do not like working in a linear fashion. It's sort of like how I laugh about how my college degree is in biology, but I worked as a graphic designer for 15 years, and I was able to do that because of the undo button.
Yes,
Being able
yes.
to, I'm not a great artist in physical media, but I can do digital art.
Mhm.
So likewise, getting into a DAW was when I finally got my hands on GarageBand
Yeah.
in 2006 or so. That was when things started. So that was really when writing, started in earnest there.
And then you joined a songwriting club, you said?
It was a website, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I had been recording on the Porta Studio, and uploading songs and getting critiques on it from there. And yeah, involved with that for a while, but uh, sort of like, you get that was when you get caught in that rabbit hole of, well, I want to make this better. I want to improve this. I want to improve this. And what's the expression? Songs are not finished; they are abandoned. It's
Mhm.
just when you decide, I'm going to give up on this now, and really that point at which you should be giving up on a song is way earlier than most of us
Yes, yes.
think it should be. As even it's something my wife has said, that this whole week thing, it's good for you, because I have a tendency to gild the lily very quickly.
Yeah.
So like some of those weeks where I ended up having a little extra time, I ended up peeling back some extra layers, because it's the whole idea of, you got to have space in a song as
Mhm.
well. It's not what all is there, it's also what is not there. And if there's too much there, everything gets lost.
Yeah.
And so that was something that I learned a little bit of towards the end of the year, was being a little bit more intentional with my noise, I
Mhm.
guess. Because there's often the feel of, you know, tossing every sort of noise bed at something. And when can be more intentional and focused about how you approach it, you can do things faster then too. So
Yeah.
that's that practice. And
Well, and
but
there's this idea that, like, the more time you have, the more things you should add.
oh, 100%, yes. That was something that I had a song that because Gretel, my wife Gretel had a headache one week and wasn't able to sing on one of the songs that we wanted to do. So it was at the end of the week. I'm like, oh, I should do something else for this week quick. And I put together a song. It turned around pretty quickly. And I sort of got down on myself a little bit. I was calling it this placeholder song because it came together really quickly. So that meant of couldn't in my head, it meant it couldn't be good.
Mhm.
And I was appropriately chastised in the comments about that.
Yeah.
It's so like, what are you? This is fine.
Yeah.
And so once again, getting out of your own head. As far
Yeah.
as, it's like, no, if you approach something intentionally and put it together, you can do things quickly and they can be fine.
Yeah, and sometimes a song just comes together fast.
Yep.
I definitely had weeks where I was like, "Oh my god, I made this whole thing in like 2 hours." Like this is the more so that I'm just impressed that it happened,
Mhm.
than, gloating to everyone. I'm like, "I did it faster." But, there's this, I guess it's kind of like a sunk cost fallacy of, the more time you spend on a song, the better it has to be or the
Mhm.
better it will be.
Thinking in
But
terms of time as currency or something like that, and you
yeah.
have to spend a certain amount in order for it to be good. I
Yeah, and
was
it's like you never know these great songs, how much time people actually put into them.
Mhm.
No one tells you that.
And I was always impressed with people. It's like people who work on the M8s talking about how, yeah, I put this together in an hour or two. It's like, because apparently the workflow on those things are just crazy.
I'm an
And
M8 guy,
you are,
and
yeah, that is,
yeah, so it
yeah.
it can be really, really fast.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's just like how quickly you could work on those things with so few buttons. It just impresses me.
And that's the key is there's so few buttons, so you're just like and I'm like, I
Yep.
can't even tell you what buttons I'm pressing now. I'm just like, I don't know. I like copied this,
Nice.
move this, change this.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So the time you spend is not equivalent to the output.
Yep. And in a way, it's like talking about like the blank page thing. If you come in with a thought and a direction, yeah, that can, I mean, why spend the time if you don't have to? If you're intentional and you have a direction, follow it, and get out of your own head.
Yeah, yeah. The getting out of your head is the
Mhm.
hardest part,
Yep.
which I feel like the whole weekly beats process definitely helped me see the the value in not spending too much time on a song and then
Mhm.
just like, like you said, giving up on it, but like it's done. Like
Mhm.
this is enough. I should move on to a different
Yeah.
idea.
And from the ending point of that for saying that's enough, and also at the beginning point, committing to an idea,
Mhm.
because I know that it's a universal artist thing where, for everything we lay down, there's probably a dozen that we probably discard out of hand
Yeah.
that were probably fine. And I know that's something that Weekly Beats does, is that it's like, oh, you got this idea? Okay, this is it. This is what you're starting with.
Yeah.
And push it along and make it work.
Yeah, the I think of the M8 as kind of more of a visual music making
Mhm,
device because you end up, I mean, it looks like a spreadsheet, but you end up with, okay, here's some sections.
mhm,
And then I ended up with, okay, here's like 10 different sections of song ideas. And every time I was stuck of like, I just don't know what's going to make it this week, I was like, start assembling. And so I started stacking pieces together. Like, how does this sound together? Oh, I really like this. These other parts, maybe they'll be part of another
mhm,
song later, but they don't fit this. But now I have a starting point to continue building. Okay, now this needs, I kind of know where this needs to go from here. Let me start
mhm.
experimenting with things that like give me that next wave in the song.
The recombining nature of the
Yeah.
M8, so like being able to, it's like I have this and I have this, and I put them together, and suddenly I have more than the sum of its parts, and it
Mhm.
is able to put you in another direction. And that's where the studio players in Logic,
I was going to
those
ask you
were
about the studio
the
players. I'm not
studio play
familiar with them.
they are they just got really introduced, rolled out in a big way in the update that came out in the middle of the year. They
Okay.
have had the studio drummer for a while, and it's very hands off as far as how you typically would think about programming drums, in that it's like there's a couple sliders, one for complexity, one for intensity.
Got
You
it.
can change the swing, you can change how many ghost notes you have, stuff like that. So the Logic 11 update included a keyboard player and a bass player,
All
and
right.
you would think that would sort of be, I mean, primarily, I'm a bassist. You would think that would be sort of antithetical to who I am, that I would give up control of that. But if I'm wanting to write a song, it's nice to be able to pass that off a little bit and say, okay,
Mhm.
I don't want to focus on this right now. Let's think about the structure and where this is going. And there were several weeks where it was, Well, that's the way the session players work is that you have to define the structure of your song with the chord progression. And
Okay.
then you can actually drag and drop sections and rearrange things. So it really sort of forces you to think in terms of where your song is going, because it's very easy for you know the whole thing where you have, oh, I have a great 8 bar loop. Where do I go from here? And so being able to have something where you have it's like you're throwing something to the band, and it's also nice because you can make those session players key off of something that I played. So I might have a rhythm part that I played on guitar. I will make the bassist and drummer follow the rhythms I'm playing on the guitar.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so you can make it, you can like, or if I have a bass line that I particularly want, I'll play the bass line and I'll have the drummer follow the bass, and they'll get in the pocket with each other then. And
Oh, all
then it
right.
starts to groove. So that was it's like being able to uh sort of like think in terms of that 30,000 feet view of a song, and thinking of structure, and this is where I want the parts and the chords to go. Uh, but just saying, okay, well, let's put a part, just play something for me, and then let's keep going. Follow the creativity, like that squirrel with ADHD.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really creative way to kind of make demo tracks
Hmm.
to splinter off of. Because I mean, you know, people in the '80s used to use cheesy drum tracks just as like a
Hmm.
demo. Some of the songs ended up with that as the
Yeah,
final track.
yeah. Was this?
Uh,
It's was it the one that uses a Casio PT10 or something? Da da da. That was
Oh
like an
yeah,
'80s song. Yep. Do, 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 do. Yeah.
yeah,
And because always whenever I was working in a DAW from the beginning, drums were always the hardest part.
yeah.
Getting something that didn't sound like a robot or didn't
Hmm.
sound too synthetic or anything. So
I've played around with the GarageBand drums a little bit, which
yeah,
I would imagine Logic Pro is just a more souped up version of
it's
that.
pretty much the same. The
Okay.
drummer in GarageBand and Logic, I think there's a few more tweaks as far as like humanizing and being able to put in your own patterns and stuff like that. But the sound engine between GarageBand and Logic is the same.
All right.
It just a few more, you can get a little bit more under the hood in Logic, but
Got it.
yeah, yeah.
I just sort of abandoned music making on a computer because I hated doing stuff on the computer.
I know so many people are like, I work on a computer all day. I don't want to come home and work on a
Yeah, I'm like, this
computer.
feels like I'm going to work on another job. Like,
Hmm.
okay, let me program these drum beats here.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I got an OP1 first, which was a little bit too much like a 4-track tape
Hmm.
player to me
Yeah.
with as far as the workflow. And then I got a Deluge,
Hmm.
the Synth Drum Deluge, which I loved. That kind of opened the door of like sequencing MIDI and being able to modify sounds after the fact. And then I just kind of ran with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I I don't necessarily like programming things in a DAW. And that's like there's some instruments like groove boxes and whatever like that don't click with me for whatever reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like using the DAW to sequence external gear that I've played on a keyboard. And it's like I can tweak things in the piano roll, but
Exactly.
it's very much just sort of like, yeah, let's use this as a big basket to collect all of these parts and play them back
Yeah.
together all at once.
So you use it more for correcting little things after the fact so that you don't have to do, a bunch of live takes.
Yeah, and so like the whole well, it's like one of the things that Logic has MIDI effects where it can do like arpeggiation, just whether or not the synth has it, built-in arpeggiator
Yeah.
chords and things like that. And so things where I can take input and give me an output I wouldn't necessarily have expected there. That's why I like Rat Gear too, like sort of like plug in a signal and chain in, chain it, chain in, chain out, and you get something unexpected out of the other
Yeah.
side. Like what you
Yeah.
were talking with the M8, where you're piling things and suddenly, oh, that's something different. I wasn't expecting that. And it
Yeah.
gives you a
Yeah.
new direction.
Or I didn't expect these two things to work together.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The,
That's kind of the whole excitement of making music
the
is
joy of the unexpected. Yes.
exactly. Yeah. So if anyone's listened to your music this past year, your wife is a significant collaborator.
Absolutely, yes. There was we've known each other for about 20 years or so, and we just got married last year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but we were both going through some things 5 or 7 years ago or something like that, and we're processing a lot of feels through music, and we were writing together, and that was a lot of what our first album ended up being. We were going through a lot of my old songs, but writing a lot of stuff together. She actually finished her PhD while we were releasing our first
Okay.
album. So yeah,
Lots to process.
lots to process there. So, so yeah, we have been, we're a good collaborative team.
You are.
There's the joke about how we approach lyrics that I tend to be, she's very surgical and delicate, and I'm sort of blunt. The joke about watching birds, and the hummingbird watch as it dances in its delicate ballet as it sips nectar from the flower. And then the woodpecker says, "I'ma stab this tree with my face knife." We know who's the woodpecker in this relationship. Yes.
uh, and we had talked about in comments along the way. I think you kept mentioning, "Oh, this is an old song that we sort of revisited," and I was like, "How do you keep track of all these old songs? Like, I am not this organized."
I am not this organized. My wife is this organized. There's one of Gretel's degrees is in library science. That was her one of her first professional careers. And so we have spreadsheets that are keeping track of our songs.
That's amazing.
We have the lyric book. We have the finished lyric book.
Wow.
So, oh yeah, we have all of these old ideas, and then we have ones that, okay, we have music to this one. Okay, this book is for finished ones. So it's like our set list book. So, and then we have the FTP that we use for keeping track of mixes. And here's the ones that are ready for mastering. Here's the one for first album. Here's the one for second album.
Wow. This
Oh
is a
yeah,
whole level of organization that is very foreign to me.
you and me both. I mean, I was just going through and trying to organize my files from the 24 and just making sure that I had all of my weekly projects numbered and put them in the right place, because I wasn't even consistent with that
Ah,
over the course of the year. So just trying to organize things and finding projects, because so I could work on making some albums this year now.
yeah.
So oh yes, her organization is absolutely a gift.
Yeah, it's just amazing what you pull from the back catalog, you know?
Yeah, and that was, we sort of took the opportunity this year, because we've had this second album coming for a while, because we released our first album April 1st, 2020, and what happened then, lockdown happened right after
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so there's the whole idea of that we were going to go out and play some coffee houses. That didn't happen, of course.
Yeah.
So this second album has been our forthcoming album for so long, we're just going to call it Forthcoming. uh,
There you go.
yeah, so it's taking the opportunity, since we were doing work every week anyway. I was going to be recording every week. Let's use the opportunity and get an album finished with these songs that we've had scratched out but have never been laid down properly.
Yeah.
So that
So,
was, yeah.
is some of the Weekly Beats projects going towards that album?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah, we finished it. We finished the album as of, what was that? Like week 49 or something. Or 40.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, week 49 was when we
Cool.
finished the album. So we're
Awesome.
excited about that.
Well, we should jump into the music
All
and
right.
hear one of your collabs with your wife,
So we're starting there.
Eagle River.
Eagle River. Okay.
All right, I'll cue it up and we'll come back.
Eagle River, summer splendor,
so that was Eagle River. Tell me about that one.
And so that's one of the favorite songs that Gretel and I did over the course of the year, because we wrote that one on our honeymoon,
Oh,
actually.
awesome.
So we were sitting on this little bluff looking over Lake Superior. Sun was setting, and all of this cottonwood fuzz was floating around. And I had been working on this little hammer-on riff on baritone ukulele earlier in the week. And it was Thursday night, and I finally figured out where it was supposed to go.
Nice.
And I figure out the riff, and I start playing a little bit. And I look over at Gretel and I say, "Sing something." And she makes up that melody on the spot.
That's
And
great.
yeah, and so that's where the line "Summer snow was in the air." That's the cottonwood. That was
Yeah,
all
and I
floating
live
around
near
us.
Cottonwood, so I definitely recognize the summer snow.
Yeah. So yeah, we came back and I have a recording that I made of it right there, and the wind was a little bit much. It would have been fun to actually submit that one. It's like, here is a field recording of this
Yeah.
song, but no, we came back and we roughed it out a little. We actually got it cleaned up a little bit more. I brought probably an unseemly number of instruments along with me, considering it was a honeymoon. To
We've got
Gretel's
songs to write, though.
Yeah, there was I've got 2 songs written that week, actually. And so to Gretel's credit, she didn't really say anything. She might have given me a look at one point. I'm like, "What? I need instruments." So yeah, that was I love baritone ukulele. It's I had a classical, and it never quite felt right to me. I could never get it to quite behave how I wanted to in a song. And I found a Barry uke at a local music store and sat down with it. And it was what I always wanted, as far as that nylon string sound in a slightly lower register from ukulele. And Gretel looks at me like, that's coming home with us, isn't it? I'm like, yes, it's coming.
Yes,
It's
it
coming
is.
home with us. So yeah, it was, so yeah, Eagle River is definitely one of my favorites of the songs that we got through this year, and just figuring out how to approach folk acoustic music and make it still feel alive.
Yeah.
Because playing music like that to a click is just death. It makes it
Mhm.
feel entirely too sterile. So figuring out how to keep time functions so you can use the advantages of a DAW, but not lock
Got it.
yourself into that, because that song stayed pretty stripped down. But there are other ones we did where I used a session drummer on top of it, so able to make Logic obey our tempo that we were following.
Yeah, I think I remember throughout the year you talking about how your Logic tricks of how to get it to sort of match up.
It took most of the year, but figured out how to get the tempo functions to really behave and not do something really crazy. It never behaved itself on 6/8 time. It was 4/4.
I barely behave on 6/8 time, so. And this is one on your album.
It will be, yes. Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yeah,
Just making
hopefully
sure
gonna
we
be
cleared that up.
gonna be finishing that in our project is called Spaces Between, because we have been working on that in the spaces between everything else that's happening in our lives. And you fit in music where you can. So that's
Yeah.
where the name came from there.
Well, I love the chord progression on this one, and you definitely got the hammer-on stuff right, and
Thank you.
the little licks that you've added on top of it are nice little additions.
Little mandolin licks. It's like I am not. Oh, okay, I'll be self-deprecating here. I am not masterful on anything I play. I like the little mandolin licks that happened on there. But Gretel will look at me and just like, "Will you stop looking down?" It all works out. It all works out using the tools that we have.
And this one definitely takes me back to summer with the
Yeah.
cottonwood snow, and
Mhm.
you release it in July, so though I do love the season changes, it's snowy
Mhm.
right now, and I'm
Yep.
wishing it was warmer.
Yeah, yeah. As I sit in my basement and I have a space heater about 3 feet away from me to make sure it stays
Same.
nice enough down here.
Yes, I'm also in my basement.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, we'll keep it rolling with
Right.
a really fun one. Bees in the bathroom.
Oh, Bees in the Bathroom.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love this one. All right, here we go.
Sitting in the bathtub, getting all clean, when I heard a sound that was fuzzy and mean. Looked all around, and to my surprise, what did I see before my eyes? Splishing and a splashing, choking on the bubbles, could not be taken lightly, got me some major troubles. There's bees in the bathroom. Bees in the bathroom. There's bees in the bathroom. Bees in the bathroom. Fuzzy boys are quite a surprise, in your face and in your eyes. Sitting there doing number 2, and suddenly a bee is staring at you. Feeling nature's calling, I better beware. Not everything is friendly. Better prepare. Ready to start running, shaving off some stubble, or squeezing on the Charmin, moving on the double. There's bees in the bathroom. Bees in the bathroom. There's bees in the bathroom. Bees in the bathroom. Fuzzy boys are quite a surprise, in your face and in your eyes. Sitting there doing number 2, and suddenly a bee is staring at you. Bees, bees, bees. Bees for everyone. You get a bee. She gets a bee. Everybody gets a bee. Sitting in the bathtub, getting all clean, when I heard a sound that was fuzzy and mean. Looked all around, and to my surprise, what did I see before my eyes? Splishing and a splashing, choking on the bubbles, should not be taken lightly, got me some major troubles. There's bees in the bathroom. Bees in the bathroom. There's bees in the bathroom. Bees in the bathroom. Fuzzy boys are quite a surprise, in your face and in your eyes. Sitting there doing number 2, and suddenly a bee is staring at you. Bees!
All right, it's hard to listen to that and not smile.
Well,
That
thank
is
you.
an amazing B-52s style original.
That was so much fun to dig into, because it's the whole feel of, well, uh, what defines the B-52s? It's like, what is it in their sound? Because like you could, and I've never really dissected them, I guess. I like thinking in terms of genre as like, okay, what's the musical shorthand
Yeah.
that will get you, 80% of the way with 20% of the effort without having to get too far in the weeds as far as what makes up a sound. And so it's like, okay, finding out that, okay, their bass lines are really simple. And then I was going with early B-52s as opposed to like Love Shack sort of thing like that. Because I contemplated giving them horns because their later stuff had horns. It's like, no, stayed with like Private Idaho, Rock Lobster sort of sound.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Rock Lobster.
I don't know how I have slept on Ricky Wilson as a guitarist for so long, just like really focusing on what he does and just the really crazy way he approached the instrument. And so just figuring out, okay, what does a Ricky Wilson riff sound like? It's sort of like surf guitar, sort of not.
Yeah.
And then of course the whole thing of if I was doing, I would not have done it if I couldn't have had Gretel do background vocals on that one,
Yes, the
because that was
background
essential.
vocals were clutch.
But that was the way that one came about, was following the breadcrumbs in the comments, because the week before that I had done a punk song, and Neon Liminal had mentioned that, oh yeah, that's a great punk song, but I'm hearing this edge of Fred Schneider in your vocals, and it's just making me laugh. And I'm like, okay, I've been thinking about B-52s anyway. You have invoked Fred. All right, we're making a B-52 song now. So, and so that was taking those cues from what other people said. It's like, all right, fine, we're gonna do that. And so it was fun just digging into that and figuring out, how to make that sound work. The title and the lyrics of the song was just a gift from Gretel, because I had started the music. I had no idea what it was about, though. And I mentioned to her, it's like, yeah, I don't know what it's about. And she looks at me and says, bees, because literally she had a restroom at the building where she works closed because there were bees in there.
Oh my God.
And so she says bees, and then she kicks out that line in the chorus. She said that right, sitting there doing number 2, and suddenly a bee is staring at you. I'm like, okay, well, it's gotta happen now. And even that, it was something where something Murder Cat pointed out was that B-52's lyrics they're goofy, and I didn't really realize just how it's like Rock Lobster. What? Love Shack. What? They're just delightfully goofy.
Yeah.
And just so much fun. And we were just dancing like fools down here, just doing because you got to dance when you do B-52. So it's just so much fun to just sort of let go and feeling like Fred Schneider for just a little bit there.
Yeah. And I just think it's fate that the song is about bees, and it's like a B-52 knockoff. Maybe you have a future in a Bees 52 cover band or something.
I didn't realize that joke until maybe a week later. I'm like, how did I miss that joke? Oh my God.
You're just so into getting the essence of the B-52s, which you fucking nailed.
Well, thank you. Just the B. God, yeah.
Yeah.
A little oblivious there.
Like you said, you narrowed down what makes a B-52 song a B-52 song.
Well, thank you.
And like sprinkled in every wonderful element.
Thank you so much. That was fun to put together.
Yeah, it's fun to listen to. So thanks for making it. All right. Now we're going to take another 90-degree genre turn and listen to A Self-Made Lucifer. Here we go.
A self-made Lucifer.
Grasping and clutching your riches, climbed up a ladder of lies. I can see where you came from. I see through your disguise. How many did you fuck over? How many did you abuse? Narcissistic compulsion. The only winner is you. You're a self-made Lucifer. You're a self-made Lucifer. You're a self-made Lucifer. You're a self-made
Incarnation of unmitigated evil.
Nothing will sate your hunger. Nothing satisfies greed. Adoration, complication, speculation tries to fill up the need. What is your destination? What do you do it all for? Subjugation of nations. Don't know what else is in store. You're a self-made Lucifer. You're a self-made Lucifer. You're a self-made Lucifer. You're a self-made Lucifer. The evil is you.
A self-made Lucifer.
You're a self-made Lucifer.
Incarnation of unmitigated evil.
You're a self-made Lucifer.
You pride yourself on being human.
You're a self-made Lucifer.
The moral intelligence of a rapid development.
You're a self-made Lucifer.
The incarnation of unmitigated evil. Madness.
You're a self-made Lucifer. You're a self-made Lucifer. You're a self-made Lucifer. The evil is you, Lucifer. You're a self-made 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 Lucifer.
All right. A Nine Inch Nails tune.
Yeah. So that one came together from like three different directions,
Okay.
because it was, of course, right after the election, and there was the feel of, I want to write an angry song right now.
Yeah,
And nothing
yeah.
was working. Nothing was working. I had 5 projects. I had one called Angry 1, Angry 2, Angry 3, Angry 4, Angry 5. Nothing working out. So it's like, okay, I'm not supposed to be working that direction right now. So I wrote something else that week. But I was also so I tabled that one. This one was built out of Angry 5, for the record.
All
Also,
right.
during spooky season, I had revisited other samples that I had used before for sort of like the dark wave industrial sort of thing. And it's like I had revisited Night of the Living Dead and used those in a different way than I had done for an album that I released in 2017. And so the samples that are in this song I had used previously, but when I was trying to use them in October, I couldn't get past the context in which I'd used them before.
All right.
And so tabled that. And so, okay, it gets back to, the next week after that was, what week was this? Self-made 46. And there's that initial loop, because I just made, it's just the 8-bar loop sort of thing. And I thought, maybe I should just throw those samples in this one and see how it works. And it was one of those moments where realizing the Self-Made Lucifer sample, oh, that's the title of the song. Okay. Because
Awesome.
it was just sort of, it had been mixed in with all of the other ones. And so it hadn't had prominence before, but realizing, oh no, that's the title of the song this time. So coming back
Awesome.
around from that track, that because I first found that sample, it's from an episode of a show called Checkmate with Peter Lorre was guest starring, and that's who that sample is. And all of those samples that are in there are from this. He plays this criminal mastermind that's getting like taken down by this one guy, and there's this one little discussion where they sit down and all of those little burns, these are the moral of intelligence of a rabid dog, those that little 3-minute conversation in there. And so I had that initial loop, which is noisy but has space in it, oddly enough. And yeah, with just going in there and then just finally realizing where it needed to go. It's like, oh, wall of guitar sound after that. The song came together really quickly after that point. So figuring out where a song wanted to go with that sample.
Yeah.
And then, then it just sort of fell into place in there. That was fun. It felt good.
Yeah. It's a great angry song, one. And did you try to, like the B-52s, capture the essence of Nine Inch Nails?
I've spent a lot of time listening to Nine Inch Nails, of course. And so in the verses, I was thinking in terms of how Trent Reznor would do inflections for some of those things. It's sort of like in the second verse where he goes, Subjugation of Nations line, where he goes up a little bit, or I go up a little bit. I'm like, I could hear him doing something like that. So I was sort of mimicking what Reznor would have done on some of those lines. Yeah.
And then even the drums and the way you kind of made that whole soundscape.
That one, and that was sort of something I found out, was putting doubling up a line with the session drummer, having one kind of drummer, then doubling it with a glitch plugin on top of it.
Oh, okay.
Gives it these, and so that is Ill-Formed Glitch 2. And it gives these wonderful sort of percussive fill in the beat sort of glitch sounds while staying on rhythm.
In time.
Yeah. And it was, and
that's a cool little trick.
Pretty much developed the song right around Glitch 2, because it adds those little sort of whistly, gritty bits that are dropping in there.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about Glitch 2 is that its presets are pretty much randomly generated every time you open it. So you better save it if you like it.
I see.
I lost another song where I liked where the texture was going, and then the plugin crashed on me and I had to remove it and put it back in, and it was gone.
Just wasn't the same.
Yeah. It's because some of those textures you expect to hear it and you build around it, and then
it crashes.
Yeah, it's gone. So,
well, and I also love the tuba on verse 2.
That's another Nine Inch Nails thing. One of my I think from was it Further Down the Spiral, one of his remix albums. I think it's like was it A Warm Place or something like that, where he has these low brass sounds woven into that sort of noise bed that he has. And it's he works in sounds that should be in conflict with each other. These warm sounds and these spiky sounds, and the way they combine is just absolutely amazing. It's just, brilliant sound design, but we all know that. Try to
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Well, brilliant on you
Well,
for
thank you.
incorporating your own version of Trent Reznor's brilliance.
We stand on the shoulders of giants.
It's true. It's true. Well, we'll get into my picks now.
All right.
So the first one is Tell Me in the Morning. Here we go.
Sometimes when worlds collide, there is no place to hide. Now with my soul left bare, I don't know if I dare. The time is running short, I see a last resort. Nothing I wouldn't do to stay right here with you. I'd throw it all away to stay here one more day. I don't know what you'd say, so tell me in the morning. A journey with no end, for someone to depend. You're on that journey too, it's what I've found in you. Or are you searching still? Haven't found it, never will. But I hope that you will see that you found something with me. I'd throw it all away, stay here one more day. I don't know what you'd say, so tell me in the morning. I'd throw it all away, stay here one more day. I don't know what you'd say, so tell me in the morning. I'd throw it all away to stay here one more day. I don't know what you'd say, so tell me in the morning. I'd throw it all away to stay here one more day. I don't know what you'd say, so tell me in the morning. I'd throw it all away to stay here one more day. I don't know what you'd say, so tell me in the morning. I'd throw it all away to stay here one more day. I don't know what you'd say, so tell me in the morning. I'd throw it all away to stay here one more day. I don't know what you'd say, so tell me in the morning. I'd throw it all away to stay here one more day. I don't know.
All right. So I picked this one because one, it's catchy as hell. Two, it's just another example of how you can take the essence of an artist and make your own version that sounds like it could be an original cover,
Well,
which
thank you
is
so
just an amazing talent. I know me making my same old stuff every week is impressive to you, but we always want what someone else has. So tell me about how this one came together.
So this is another one where I was digging more into how certain types of songs were put together. I was thinking about after doing Vicky Says, the Cars
Which is
knockoff
another
song.
one that
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, do I pick that one?"
And so one thing noticing that the Cars would typically do is that they would have the verse chord structure, they would have a pre-chorus and something else, and then the chorus would have the same chord structure as the verse. And I didn't do that in Vicky Says, so it's a little bit different there. This one, I took the Axis of Awesome chord progression, that standard 1-5-6-4 progression, which is the basis of the chord progression that sailed a million songs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen the video, the Axis of Awesome, where they do a medley of all of the
Oh,
songs.
yes, I have.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
it's
it's
just
just crazy how many songs are built on that.
yeah, and it's just like it's because it's a great progression.
Yeah.
Anything can hang on top of it. And so what I did for this one was I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but I wanted to work in the whole, okay, first chorus, let's keep the same progression. So session players, I did that again here. I gave it a
Nice.
1-5-6-4, and I added that delay arpeggio thing on top of it. An arpeggiated synth line with a delay always just sounds magical to my ears. It's like it builds textures and different chord voicings just by it just sounds. I love the sound of it. And then pick up a guitar and just started playing, and just added some of those like the palm mute sort of things, and
Mm-hmm.
added in a couple lines. And that was where the music bed came from. I did not know what the song was about or what the melody was. And so I did something that I always used to love doing back when previous job I had a 45-minute commute, and I would frequently take mixes, and I would just sort of like sing sounds over the top and just try
Yeah.
and find out, okay, what word sounds good, right? I like thinking in terms of words as instrument, because sometimes it's just like certain words sound
Yeah.
great over
There's
something.
the melody, and then there's the rhythms that the
Yep.
words create.
Yep. And so my drive to work is a lot shorter now. It's like 8 minutes, but I listen in the car, and I did a little bit of singing in the car, and that's where the chorus came out. And so it was like, I throw it all away to stay here one more day. And I did something not rhyming the last line. I don't think I haven't done that before, but I mean, and just, I hung the song off of the chorus.
Yeah.
Cause this is one of those songs where it's about the chorus.
Yeah. It's great.
I had to figure out what the verse was going to be. It's so like, don't bore us, get to the chorus. And it's just coming back around to that one. So it was fun thinking about, once again, just like, okay, what's the vocal style sound like for this? Like the early 80s sort of, I love early 80s new wave sort of stuff. The synth sounds on that,
Yeah.
the vocal styles on those. It is an era I deeply adore. And so, and the way the guitars fit in those and blended into that sort of texture there.
Yeah. And I have to say, the faux British accent was perfect.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's another way that you kind of capture an artist, is you try to mimic their vocal styles.
Just a little bit to bring it's one of those where it felt right to do that. So it's like, okay, we'll try that.
Yeah.
And that was where I was sort of aiming that week towards something that felt a little bit like The Cure. I think I ended up probably a little bit more like Modern English on that one. But so my original project was called Medicine, because The Cure. And that's my problem. That's my problem with so many of my projects, is that I have to save them before I have a title. And they frequently have jokes or puns in them. I'm like, what did I call that?
That's great.
Shit, I lost it.
Naming things is very difficult.
Yeah, that's something I have to work on going forward.
I let the M8 auto name my stuff. I'm like, yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, here it is.
Going for with Weekly Beats 26, God willing, and the creek don't rise if I'm there for 26. Yes, I'm going to be naming everything week 1 and then a name, week 2 and then a name. So because I am not to be trusted when it comes to naming files.
Well, excellent job on that one.
Thank you.
Very, like I said, catchy as hell. It's going to be in my head the rest of the day. So the next one, my next pick is Marmalade, which is another good pun name that we'll catch after this.
Marmalade, because it's kind of a jam.
It is such a jam. It is such a jam. So I picked this because one, I don't typically hear any reggae dub on Weekly Beats.
I found a couple, not too often. Yeah.
Take us back to the summer. It was, it was May.
Mm-hmm.
It was starting to get hot out.
Yeah.
This was the jam I needed. And it starts out great. And then when the horns come in, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Thank you.
So I have loved this song ever since the first time I heard it. And it had to make the final cut.
Yeah, that was the weird little reggae ska section I was doing around then. It was just sort of in my brain.
Yeah, because you did a ska one right before this.
Yeah. And I was because there was Record Store Day 24. They had a Lee Perry song, Lee Perry album.
Lee Scratch Perry.
Yeah. Oh, and I wasn't able to get one on Record Store Day, but I tracked down a copy later, and that album lived on my turntable for like a couple months. Just like the stuff that Lee Perry was doing in the early 70s was just insane. Just the way he was playing with effects and mixes and just things you didn't do with songs. Just like the whole thing where it's like, okay, where the bass is the kick drum and different approaches to taking those reggae feels to it.
Yeah.
And so this was a really weird month. Cause I'd mentioned that it was difficult. I mentioned that to you. Just my mom died that week. Actually.
Oh man. I'm sorry to hear.
Thank you. Yeah. But it was, and so it was like, I had to do a lot of driving back and forth that week. And so I was putting albums in the car and just sort of zoning out a little bit. And so I was listening to old Mad Professor and Lee Perry and stuff like that. And just sort of sinking back into familiar music that way. In college, I had a radio show. I did world music, reggae, and ska. And so I spun a lot of, it's like old Mad Professor and stuff like that. It just, I was not familiar with reggae and dub before I started that show, but oh man, love dub. It has an ominous feel to it. It's something Murder Cat said. It's like feeling like the bass is coming to get you. It's just like, it's sort of like creeping along. It has this element of space to it and you don't know what's around the next corner.
Yeah.
And so it's just it's nothing like dub, pretty much.
Yeah. Are you familiar with this artist Packy Man?
No.
Oh, dude, I'll send you some of his stuff.
Oh, he's awesome. Yes.
Yeah, he's great.
Awesome.
You also captured the reverb essence perfectly.
The whole thing with it, just like the delays that sort of feedback and grow and bloom. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was, one of the things that Lee Perry was doing at the Black Ark, where he was playing that mixing board like an instrument.
Yeah.
And just dialing in the reverbs and just letting the effects exist as an instrument unto itself. And it's just true. Just absolutely amazing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, great tune.
Thank you.
Sorry to hear that it was produced under some tough life circumstances.
Well, it was like, if we can find space for creativity now, we can find space for creativity anywhere.
That's true.
And it was the community just like having a place to be and just carve out that space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned before that all these songs are sort of just like a week snapshot of our lives in 2024, where you're like, oh, I kind of remember what was going on at that time. Some songs more than others, but you're working on it for the entire week.
Yeah. So
it's like in your everyday life for an entire week.
Yeah. It becomes it's your focus right around that time. It's so much so I know exactly what you mean, that you listen to that and boom, you're back in that time
Yeah,
period.
yeah.
Mhm.
If listening to other people's songs takes you back to points in time where you first heard it or it first hit you, it's like yours that you listened to for God knows how many hours that week,
Mhm.
making it really transports you back.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this takes me to oh, I didn't mean to hit Q yet. All right, this takes me to my final pick, which is the saddest noise, the sweetest
Mm,
noise. And we're going to switch it up and chat about this one, and then we'll play it out to
sounds
end the
good.
episode.
Great. Yeah, this one was another one where I wasn't quite sure what to do with the week. And sometimes it's when I didn't know what to do with the week, just like, okay, I should be listening to more music.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that Friday, I was listening to Judas Priest. And that was one of my sister's college boyfriend was big into music, and he passed a lot of tapes to me. And so 8th grade me, that's when I got a copy of Defenders of the Faith. And that still to me in so many ways defines what metal is about. That whole twin guitar lead and that just absolutely huge sound to it. And so listening to that album, revisiting old favorites, and like, oh, I should do this, and getting that starting point. This song is just 2 chords. Really, there's not that much going on in there.
Yeah.
It's just crashing back and forth between these 2 chords. It adds another chord at the very end, but just 2 chords back and forth and building. And
Hmm.
that's something I don't do very often sometimes, is give my songs space to develop and let it take time.
Yeah.
And it was something when I was working on this song, it's like I'm 2 minutes in and I'm still working on the intro right now. And just, but the feel of it's like, it feels right. We're going to let this go where it wants to. We're going to
Yeah.
chase this creativity here and just let it go. I I'm still not sure why I decided to go with that faster ending, because it's not particularly doom. I mean, it's like I'm not a big metalhead necessarily. I do I like a lot of different styles.
You
But
don't
listen
say.
to yeah, imagine that, right? Pope Catholic Bear Woods, yeah. But doom doesn't necessarily do that necessarily. But I guess it's pretty much it's the idea that we take what we listen to and it goes through our own particular likes and experiences, and
Hmm.
we take things, we put them together and we recombine them. Like
Yeah.
you're talking about, we get those
Yeah.
pieces and we put them together and we end up with things we wouldn't have expected otherwise. And that is
Yeah.
the beauty
The
of
whole
it.
point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I also have trouble just letting things breathe. I admire these like super, super long ambient tracks that I enjoy listening to, but I'm a little bit too ADHD. Like, all right, let's get to the good stuff
Uh,
to let it evolve.
yep.
And the times that I have given myself the freedom to take a little bit more time, people have been friendly in the comments or supportive to what I did. Like,
Hmm.
hey, this might have taken a little bit too long. Like, I think it's maybe too long of a song, but everyone's like, no, it's great. So more community feedback of like, all right, I'm breaking this self-imposed rule.
Hmm.
Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
And I trust them more than, family members and other friends that are just like, yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. It's like someone who doesn't, they have no vested interests in, they're not worried about hurting your feelings or such,
No.
or needing to necessarily saying they like it because they're supposed to or anything like that. Yeah.
Right.
And that is the thing. It's like, yeah, you really in weekly beats, if people didn't like something, they wouldn't say they liked it. And it's like taking people at face value for
Yeah.
what they say. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, thank you. We're going to go with that. We're going to chase it down.
Yeah, and they also wouldn't say they didn't like something if they didn't like it.
Right.
Like unless you ask for specific feedback.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, which I mean, I think is a good part about the community. There's not people just railing on your creations because there's just so many different styles.
So many different styles. And for this particular kind of project, it's not helpful. I mean, it's like that doesn't.
No, we're
It's
all
like,
just out here doing the same thing every week, just trying to make a song.
Yep. And it's just we're all doing. We are just writing week upon week. Yeah, there's a time and place for deeper critiques and criticism. This ain't it. That isn't what Weekly Beats is about. It's about testing yourself and seeing where you can take yourself and see where other people follow along with you or not. Yeah.
Or like you can give me feedback on the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
Which is another big thing that I learned this year, just mixing, mastering.
Yeah, mixing and mastering was going back, and I'm going to revisit some of my tracks from the beginning of the year because
my first one was like super quiet.
Yeah, I learned so much about doing heavy music this year.
Yeah.
And also because I now have instrument presets from things that I've tweaked in and dialed in. It's like my guitar sound. I have a preset made for that.
Nice.
One of them, a noise instrument that I used in Lucifer actually is a recording of a waterfall. That I use as a noise bed sort of thing now.
Nice.
And that comes back in with not having to spend as much time. When you tweak your workflow, you know where you want to be. So yeah, it doesn't take you as much time to get stuff done.
Yeah, interview I did just recently with That Ranjit. He talks about his just pile of samples, like his very disorganized sample library, and like trying to find something. Because I would ask him about particular samples. He's like, I don't know where that came from. I was just digging.
Yeah, I have the folder on my studio drive called Sample Fodder. And it's largely, it's 500 or 600 gigs of movies at this point that I pulled down.
Okay, yeah.
And so, I will go and I will just like scratch through a movie and I'll just drag it into the project and then clip it out. And so I try and keep track that way as far as where things come from. But organization.
Yeah. Leave your wife up to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on and getting to hear a little bit more about your Weekly Beats experience and just music creativity in general.
Well, thank you so much. It was an awesome discussion. Thank you for having me on and for keeping the beats alive in 25.
Yeah. Everyone go check out this wide catalog of genres, and we will play it out with
The Saddest Noise, The Sweetest Noise.
The Saddest Noise, The Sweetest Noise.
Emily Dickinson.
Emily Dickinson. All right. We'll play it out.
saddest noise, the sweetest noise, the maddest noise that grows. The birds, they make it in the spring at night's delicious close. Between the March and April line, that magical frontier, beyond which summer hesitates, almost too heavenly near. It makes us think of all the dead that sauntered with us here, by separation's sorcery, made cruelly more dear. It makes us think of what we had and what we now deplore. We almost wish those siren throats would go and sing no more. An ear can break a human heart as quickly as a spear. We wish the ear had not a heart so dangerously near.